Welcome back to the Tuolumne County Chamber of Commerce Candidates Night, as heard this evening on AM 1450 and FM 102.7, KVML, and streamed on mymotherlode.com. I'm Michael Ayala from the Tuolumne County Chamber of Commerce. So, for the 5th District Board of Supervisors race, I will be starting with the intro for Carl Rotifer. He has served the Tuolumne County's 5th District as their supervisor for the past 5 years. He served our nation for 23 years as an Air Force officer and fighter pilot, retiring as a lieutenant colonel in 1995. Carl and his wife, Jo, have lived in Tuolumne County for the past 13 years. Supervisor Rotifer serves on 12 committees, commissions, or governing boards throughout the county and is active in many veterans and community organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, your District 5 Supervisor, Carl Rotifer.
Good evening, and thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to the Chamber for putting it on, and thank you for all of those that are listening Tuolumne County-wide. 4 years ago, I was sitting up here talking to some of you, and I promised to be a full-time supervisor. I have kept that promise. We have been through a lot in the last 3.5 years, not 5, together. We've saved Railtown, we've saved the fairgrounds, and we've gone through 3 states of emergency. We're still in 2 of them. We did that with leadership, vision, and action. As we go forward, we are looking at a county staff that is almost going to be completely turned over in the next 2 to 3 years. If we want the right county culture, we need the right people on the Board of Supervisors overseeing the hiring process that is going to bring in the new leaders in our Tuolumne County government. I want to be part of that. I think that it's important, and the answer to a lot of the economic development questions is get our county government out of people's way. That's really, really important to me. I'm looking forward to working for you again for the next 4 years, and I'm looking for your vote. Thank you.
And for Sarah Shire, is a California native and a graduate of Sonora High School. After obtaining a master's degree from CSU Stanislaus and teaching overseas, she returned to Tuolumne County to work at Columbia College and to give back to the community that fostered her development. With that, Sarah, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name's Sarah Shire, and I'm running for District 5 Supervisor. The Tuolumne County Chamber of Commerce has brought forth several issues in our county, and I'd like to address those tonight. I have talked to several people on both sides of the Vision Sonora, and I feel like everyone seems to agree that we need economic vitality to have a vibrant, appealing community. Personally, I've looked at the reality that where people are encouraged to congregate, they spend more money. So if visitors come to our county for dinner and are encouraged to spend the night, they will then go out to breakfast, they'll spend more money at our stores, and Tuolumne County will prosper as a result. However, if we sell out our community to out-of-area corporations in a Knott's Berry Farm feel, we will have failed. The American dream is based on entrepreneurship. Local businesses are what make America truly successful. Tuolumne County cannot have economic vitality without connectivity. Without internet, cell phone service, and basic access to an ATM machine at Columbia State Park, visitors will not be able to come and spend their money. In addition, Tuolumne County cannot be successful if water is not being allocated to benefit the community members. Along with water allocation, we must continue to support defensible space, selective tree removal, and volunteers to assist CAL FIRE and the Tuolumne County Fire Department. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, our first question by our panel member, Margaret Davis, posed to Carl Rotifer.
Carl, the rim fire occurred in 2013. People are concerned about the repeat event, possibly involving the Stanislaus River Canyon. What do you see as the issues with the forest, and what do you do to obtain a remedy for the forest and the watersheds?
Well, thank you for the question, Margaret. It's a really good question, and it's a tough one. It's not simple. 80% of our land area is in federal hands, and the federal government has proven to be a very poor custodian of their lands. They're our lands. We need to continue to work with them. Fortunately, with some hard work over the past 3.5 years, we've improved the relations somewhat. But we need to continue to do that. I came away from the rimfire situation convinced that what we really needed to do is build a fire break around the forest. And that's what we've been pretty busy doing with as much money as we can get, and we need to continue to do that. So when they do have a fire in the forest, it stays in the forest.
Thank you. Sherry? Same question. You want me to repeat it?
Sure.
Okay. The rim fire occurred in 2013. People are concerned about a repeat event, possibly involving the Stanislaus River Canyon. What do you see as the issues with the forest, and what do you do to obtain a remedy for the forest and the watershed?
Thank you. So tree mortality is definitely a big issue. We need to take care of the trees that are out there right now because they're just increasing the likelihood of a devastating fire. Overall, though, we really need to be looking at model communities from all over the United States and seeing what has worked in other communities, such as the cisterns in San Francisco that protects them from fire dangers. So if it's working, we need to be doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And now for the second question from VJ Hansen, starting with Sarah.
Sarah, Tuolumne County's population continues to be on a downward trend. School enrollment has been declining for many years. What can the county do to help attract and keep younger residents?
Well, we need jobs that people want to have that pay a livable wage so that families can be prosperous here. So that means having jobs that utilize the education that we offer in this county, which would be associate's degrees from Columbia College and also CTE certificates from Columbia College. So we need more jobs that utilize what we have to offer. So those degrees include things like entrepreneurship and baking, hospitality, fire safety, lots of different things that we can utilize in order to create jobs that people will want to have.
And same question for Carl Rodefer.
Thank you, BJ. Really, it's a multifaceted problem space, and nobody's really addressed it tonight. But there's really 3 different dimensions that we have to address, and you can't address one and not all 3 of them. First of all is the jobs. There need to be good paying jobs. The second is housing. There needs to be affordable housing for the young people, and the kind of housing they want, not the kind of housing we want to give them. And the last thing that we need to have is the social infrastructure that will draw young people to either come here or convince our young people to stay here. So it's really, really important that you address all 3 segments of our society if you really want to keep our kids here in Tuolumne County. And I'm all for doing all of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And our third question by Lynn Riddle, starting with Carl.
Carl, this is little bit, I'm combining a question that I had with a question from an audience member as well. They're sort of similar or related. The people of your district spoke loud and clear about their desire to keep their town free from national chains like Dollar General. Would you support an ordinance or amendment to the general plan banning such formula retail development outside of Sonora? And the question from the audience member is, many in Columbia feel that they want to keep this corridor historic. How would you keep it historic?
Well, I'll address the second one first. There is a process in our general plan for creating a historic corridor, and it is a process that starts with the community, and I support community involvement in our government. And I would recommend, I already have, that if that desire is out there, that the community pursue that process. It includes getting support of 50% plus one of 2 things. One is the land property owners, and the other one is the population that is affected by the corridor. So that process is there, and I would use that. As far as formula retail, I would prefer to see us address it through architectural design. But again, whatever the community wants to come forward with, bring it to the board, and we'll take a look at it. I think we need to be listening to the community. Thank you.
Sarah, do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
This very long question. People of the district spoke loud and clear about their desire to keep their town free from national chains like Dollar General. Would you support an ordinance or amendment to the general plan banning such formula retail development outside of Sonora? And many in Columbia feel that this is an important historic corridor. What would you do to protect its rural character?
I definitely agree that we need to protect our historic corridor. I feel like an overall ban could possibly hinder our community. However, we need to be opening up to businesses that help flourish our historic integrity and keep that intact. That's our past, but it's also our future. And if we sell that out, it's gone forever. And that's very important to me. So I feel it's important to protect. And I feel my community members spoke very clearly about that.
And the fourth question from Margaret, starting with Sarah.
Okay, Sarah. What is your number one priority for Tuolumne County if you are elected?
Overall, I'd have to say my number one priority is connectivity. If we are not utilizing internet and cell phone service and our current infrastructure to create a vibrant community, we're going to miss out on the families and the young professionals who would like to move up here and possibly telecommute or drive to the Bay 2 days a week and work part-time in the Bay and work part-time telecommuting. So I don't want to see us missing out on that money that could be coming into our community. That's really important. That's a lot of dollars that could be used to benefit our economy, and we're going to miss out on that if we don't act.
No, I'm fine with it. Thanks, Margaret. My number one priority is ensuring that going forward, that as we hire our new people into our jobs that people are going to be retiring from over the next 2 to 3 years, virtually all of our county leadership, that we put in place the culture in this county that allows people to get things done, a culture that takes the county from being a speed bump to a nice, smooth, paved road, which you can't find in the county. But I think it's very, very important that people are able to get things done, and when they come to the county offices, that when they leave, they know exactly what it is that they need to do, and they know exactly who it is that they need to talk to and how to get a hold of them. We need to streamline our processes, and we need to have a culture that says, how can I help you when you come in the door? Thank you very much.
And we have time for one more question, and we'll have that starting with BJ, posing it to Carl.
Carl, local law enforcement leaders tell us the number of violent crimes over the past year has been up in the county. We've seen some spikes in burglaries. Does more funding need to go to law enforcement, potentially at the expense of other services?
You know, as Supervisor Gray said, it's really a juggling act at the county level with funds, because none of our segments of our government have enough funding. So you're constantly trying to prioritize. Yes, absolutely, I would love to be able to put more sheriffs on the street. But again, we've got to prioritize that with the other things. I am concerned about the crime. Proposition 47 was the biggest mistake that the voters in the state of California ever made. When you make felonies and misdemeanors in a situation where misdemeanors can't go to jail because we don't have any room, these folks carry calculators when they're breaking into people's houses because they know that $950 is the limit, and when they walk out with less than $950. You got to be kidding me. How did we do that? One of my priorities would be to try and reverse that, working with the legislature. Again, it really does concern me. We're going in a pretty bad path, and we may have to add some more sheriffs on the street. Thank you.
Sarah, would you like the question again?
Yes, please.
Local law enforcement leaders have told us over the past year the number of violent crimes and burglaries have been going up in the county. Does more money need to be spent towards law enforcement, possibly at the expense of other services?
Thank you. I feel like utilizing this community is the best way to help that situation. Neighborhood watch and community members watching out for each other, that's really what's going to make the biggest difference. We have to band together and work together to make a difference in the crime. If we're all watching out for each other, we're going to be realizing when something's happening and reporting it immediately. Now, yes, we will need law enforcement to come out to help us when there is a problem. My father's a retired Oakland police officer, so he's been schooling me extensively on the need for robust law enforcement to be available when things happen. But I think that the real key, the real answer to that is banding together as a community.
Thank you. We have time for one more question, and that'll be from Lynn, posing it to Sarah.
Sarah, excuse me, what will you do specifically to bring high-paying jobs to Tuolumne County? And is there a company, a manufacturer, a retail outlet that you specifically would like to target to come?
Thank you. I would like to target the local businesses. I feel like that's really what's going to make our community better. If the money that we're making is coming from out of town, in town, and then staying in town, that's what's going to make our community prosperous. If we keep selling out our dollars to out-of-state corporations, it's over. We've lost. And I really don't want to see that happen. I know that my generation, we don't want the big box stores. We don't want to be buying a whole bunch of stuff from out-of-state corporations. We want to buy it locally, and if we can't buy it locally, we want to have it delivered to us by someone with a well-paying job and benefits. Thank you.
Carl?
Sure. Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What would you do specifically to bring high-paying living wage jobs, I suppose is a better way to say that, to Tuolumne County? And is there a manufacturer or a retail outlet or some kind of business, type of business, that you specifically would like to target to bring here?
Well, I'll go back to what I said in a previous question. Some of these questions tie themselves together. And where we had good-paying jobs in some numbers in the past was when we concentrated on our historical industries, mining, timber harvesting, ranching, and we can add tourism in there. That's where the good-paying jobs are now, and if you add the hospital in and the prison, that's where they're at. I think you start with the germ and you grow that. And if you grow that timber harvesting by working with the federal government and getting some of this timber out of our forests and get biomass affordable, that is a very good place to start. When you try and bring in new, everybody talks about the high-tech industry, but if you go down and, we've done it, gone down and talked to the high-tech industry people, they're not coming. So I think you focus on our history.
All right, with that, it's an opportunity for closing statements from each candidate. We'll start with the incumbent, Carl Rodefer, and then we'll go to Sarah.
Okay, again, thank you all for coming. It's always great to be able to speak to you. Again, I talked about leadership, vision, and action. That's what this Board of Supervisors has done. I have spent 3.5 years establishing the contacts in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., working on both sides of the aisles in both cities that can get things done in this county. We are going to be bringing in $250 million between when I took office and 2019 when the jail is completed. That is huge. That is grant money that is over and above the normal grant money that we would expect to have come in. It's very, very important that we understand that you don't get everything done here in the county. Mr. Pedro, our CAO, constantly reminds us that there are things that you can affect and there are things that you can influence. Okay, we can affect a lot of things here in this county, but we can only affect that stuff that we're funded for. The way you get the money is you exercise your influence, and that influence is what this board has done extremely well. And we need to have those contacts that are already established. The last thing I'll say is, when the next rimfire, or whatever emergency it is, breaks out, okay, there's not a whole lot of time to do research. You've got to be ready to go and ready to act. I promise you, if you re-elect me, proven leadership, clear vision, and decisive action. Thank you very much for coming tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
And Sarah.
Okay, so at this point, you might be wondering what exactly qualifies me to be a district supervisor. It's true that my master's level education and diverse work experience, both overseas and locally at Columbia College, makes me a dynamic candidate for District 5 supervisor. But what really sets me apart is I'm invested in Tuolumne County's future. I am a young professional living in Tuolumne County. I believe other young professionals have a right to the opportunity to live in this county. I would like to see my community increase economic vitality while preserving our historic integrity to create a community that will attract and retain families. I understand that the odds are not forever in my favor. I'm running against an intelligent incumbent who has a whole lot more money than me. That is why I have to take this opportunity right now to be very clear. My generation does not want big box stores. We do not want our dollars being outsourced out of state. We do not want to sell our historic identity. It is not for sale. We want to buy local as much as possible, and when we can't find something locally, we want to order that item online and have it delivered to us by someone with a livable wage and benefits. We want paths to connect us physically, and we want reliable technology to connect us virtually. Our social, economic, and environmental well-being has a right to be represented. I want a prosperous community for the families of Tuolumne County and for my future family. I'm invested in the future, and if you are too, I hope you'll vote for me June 7th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, I want to thank our audience here at the Board of Supervisors, and I want to thank each of the candidates for participating tonight and AM 1450 and FM 102.7 KVML, local cable channel 8, the Union Democrat, and the Chamber's Board of Directors and Government Affairs Council, who helped make this another successful candidates forum. The candidates you heard tonight are looking for your vote. You've heard what they have to say and how they responded to the various questions from the panel. We applaud all the candidates for giving of their time to seek public service and for helping make Tuolumne County a better place to live by improving our business climate and outlook for jobs. The most important thing is to exercise your constitutional right to vote. Today's issues make clear the importance of our representative form of government, and with that, the responsibility we all have to vote and elect candidates reflective of your values and the issues important to you. So please make sure to vote Tuesday, June 7th at your polling place, unless you are planning to cast your vote earlier by mail-in ballot. Thank you for being in our audience and for listening in on AM 1450 and FM 102.7 KVML. And remember to keep an eye out for local cable channel 8's playback of tonight's candidates forum. Have a good night as we wrap up another Tuolumne County Chamber of Commerce Candidates Night. Thank you all.